For my 5th year of marriage, the first birthday gift I bought myself was a burial plot. Funny, right? In all these years, besides the wedding ring she bought, I never got a single gift. She didn't forget, she just thought I wasn't worth it. Today, I paid in full. I emptied my bank account, leaving not even the $52.14 in my pocket. Sir, do you need burial clothes too? The clerk pointed to the old-fashioned styles in the cabinet. I frowned, leaning over the glass. Can you do custom orders? I want something prettier, with lace. The clerk froze, then quickly regained her professional composure. We can customize, but it costs extra. Sure, order one for me, I said casually, as if picking out a suit. I am dying. Late stage, lung cancer. The doctor gave me 2 months at most. I haven't told anyone, not even Qingxue, my wife of 5 years. A familiar voice called out from behind. I turned and met her confused eyes. Who would have thought I'd run into my own wife while picking out a grave? What are you doing here? Her brow furrowed, her voice sharp with annoyance. I didn't panic. She never cared about me anyway. Even if she knew I was dying, she'd probably just scowl and say it was bad luck. Just picking up something for a client, I shrugged, acting like it was nothing. She noticed the yellow hospital wristband on my arm and leaned in. But then she caught sight of a familiar figure nearby. She hesitated, patted my arm, and said, I'm leaving. Talk later. She didn't ask a single question. No curiosity about why I was at a funeral home. No concern about why I wore a hospital band. She treated me like a passing neighbor, greeting me and walking away. My fake strength was betrayed by my white-knuckled grip. If she actually thought about it, delivery couriers exist everywhere now. I didn't need to come myself. It's just a pity that I never truly held a place in her heart. Watching her walk away, my chest tightened. Their voices drifted back to me. What's wrong, Qingxue? Is that your friend? Just a neighbor? Said he's here to pick a grave. Ignore him. Are you feeling any better? Qingxue's voice was incredibly tender, a tone she had never used with me. She touched his shoulder, comforting him softly. I know your grandmother's passing is hard, but it's a natural part of life. Don't worry, you still have me. I stood frozen in my tracks unconsciously, rubbing the hospital band on my wrist. I wondered if, when I die, she would grieve like this for me. We've been secretly married for 5 years, hiding it from everyone, playing our own lonely roles. Eloping with her back then was entirely my choice. Getting our marriage license behind my parents' backs was my stubborn decision. I truly believed she deserved the best of me. 8 years ago, I first saw her in a white dress, walking onto campus. The sun shone on her as she looked down at her phone with a gentle smile. In that moment, I knew I was done for. I became her shadow. Maybe she was bored, or maybe her heart softened, but on graduation day, she accepted my confession. I stayed awake all night, thrilled, thinking my devotion had finally moved her. Only after we married did I learn that on that exact day Ji Mingsheng got a girlfriend. Naturally, she used me as a rebound, but as long as she was with me, did any of that matter? I kept lying to myself, believing that if I loved her enough, I would eventually leave a mark in her heart. But then I found those carefully preserved letters. I was cleaning the study when I uncovered a tin box deep in a drawer. Inside, letters were stacked neatly. The envelopes had yellowed, but each was as pristine as new. With trembling hands, I opened the very first one. Mingsheng, today is the 37th day of your marriage. I still dream of you, of us walking on the track. You smiled, saying you'd take me to meet your grandmother. The crowded words were full of love, yet none of it was meant for me. These letters began when he married. One, every day, without fail. Over 5 years, that was more than 1,800 letters. Every single one detailed her longing for the exact same man. I sat on the study floor, flipping through the pages, feeling like an absolute joke. Some pages were stained with dried tears. I didn't know if those tears were hers or mine. That night, I sat in the living room, chain-smoking until dawn. When she walked in, she frowned in annoyance. "Didn't I tell you not to smoke inside? The house stinks." I got up quickly to open the window, apologizing softly. She hung up her coat, changed into slippers, and went to the bathroom, humming a tune. She was unusually happy. I quietly went to straighten her slippers. When I stood up, I caught a faint scent of tobacco on her Kawada scent that wasn't mine. I picked up the coat to take a closer sniff. Suddenly, her phone rang. The screen flashed. Jiang. She snatched the phone, glared at me, and answered, "Hey, what's wrong?" I stood frozen as a faint male voice drifted from the speaker. "What? You got divorced?" Her voice suddenly spiked, filled with unbelievable joy. In that moment, my heart felt squeezed in a vice, making it hard to breathe. After hanging up, she didn't even nag me about smoking. She hummed a tune and happily went to cook dinner. Her mood was so incredibly good that she didn't notice my silence. "I'm not hungry. I don't want to eat," I said. Her face fell instantly. "You begged me to cook, and now you won't eat." "Jiang Liunian, do you have to ruin everything?" I smiled bitterly. "Sorry. I shouldn't have ruined your good mood. Zhu Mingsheng got divorced. You must be thrilled," I said. This time, there was no shouting. She said absolutely nothing. But silence is always more deafening. I finally realized that in her story, I was never the lead. I decided to get a divorce, even if my days were numbered. Standing up, I stared out at the endless rain. I coughed twice, my lungs feeling like they were being scraped by a blade. Rusted love and rainy days, decaying life, and a broken Mew truly deserved each other. As I turned around, my tears nearly spilled over. I wondered if she would be as happy to hear I'm dying as she was when she heard Mingsheng got divorced. After washing up, she sat with her back to me on her phone, as usual. I felt completely invisible. The inner child in me was weeping me world, had no warmth, only the illusion of having been loved. Now reduced to cold ashes. Just remembering how happy she looked when Mingsheng divorced felt like a freezing draft blowing straight through my chest, chilling my soul. Suddenly, she turned around. Sliding her freezing feet under my thighs and wrapping her arms around my neck, her warmth drew me in. In 5 years of marriage, she had never been this bold. I pulled her down, pinning her, holding her head as I kissed her fiercely. It was venting, and maybe punishing her, pouring every ounce of my energy into it. I felt like a frozen steak tossed onto a blazing pan, painful, but unable to escape. Afterward, she finally seemed to remember seeing me at the funeral home. "What did your client want you to pick up today?" she asked. "Why would they send you to a place like that?" she murmured casually. "Don't go back there. It's bad luck." My heart tightened. Looking at her under the moonlight, I swallowed my bitterness. I wanted to tell her tonight that I was dying. I was terrified she'd cry, but more terrified she wouldn't. "Actually, there's more." I started, but a frantic knocking cut me off. Recognizing his voice, she threw on a robe and rushed out. "Qingxue, I'm sorry. With Grandma gone, I just couldn't be alone. I didn't know where else to go." It was Mint. His voice cracked with sobs. She didn't even wait to hear the rest. She just looked back and threw a line at me. "His grandmother just died. He is devastated. I'll comfort him for a bit and come right back." Then she left. I stood frozen, clutching my diagnosis report, unable to move. The dull ache in my chest turned into a razor-sharp blade, twisting until I couldn't breathe. Every strike carved deep, bloody gashes into my heart. I squeezed the medical report tight and began coughing violently, hacking as if my lungs were tearing apart in pure agony. Laughing bitterly at myself, I walked back to the bedroom and flushed all my pain meds down the toilet. Tonight, nothing could hurt worse than my heart. The next morning, she came home, smelling of alcohol. Looking at my exhausted face, she said flatly, "His grandmother died, plus he just got divorced." So he was devastated. I had a few drinks to keep him company. "Don't worry about it." Then, as if afraid I'd overthink, she leaned on my shoulder. "Trust me, we are over. He has no friends here, so I had to help. Why are you smoking again?" She didn't stop me until my coughing fit nearly tore my lungs apart. Only then did she put out the cigarette. "Stop," she frowned. "It's for your own good. What if something happens? Do you know how many people get lung cancer?" She clung to my arm, begging, "Don't be mad. You're the only one in my heart. See how much I care? I bought you candy so you wouldn't smoke." She popped a lemon drop into my mouth. "If it really bothers you, I'll delete Mingshank right now." She reached for her phone, but I grabbed her hand. "I believe you," I murmured. I felt a small spark of joy, completely missing her quiet sigh of relief. Maybe I wasn't entirely worthless to her. As long as she pleaded, I forgave everything. I was always the fool holding roses, bleeding hands hidden, shouting that love lives forever. She kissed my cheek and went to the bathroom. Then, her phone began buzzing. Before I could look, a notification flashed. Qingxue. "Don't tell me you and Ming Sheng got back together last night. Word is that you two are back. At our class reunion tonight, are you two going to go public? Come on, make it official." Reading this, my hands began to shake. After all these years, absolutely nobody knew I existed. I thought I was prepared for this, but when the raw truth stared me in the face, my heart shattered. Did they really do something last night? She suddenly snatched the phone back, snapping at me. "Who said you could touch my phone? Can't we just respect each other's privacy?" She glanced at the screen, trying to explain, but I cut her off. "Are you going public?" I asked, adding, "With me." She looked away guiltily. "Next time. I'll take you to meet everyone properly. I have a company meeting today anyway, and can't go to this." "There is no next time, is there?" I murmured. "Life is long. We have plenty of next times," she argued, putting her phone down and stepping closer. But I knew my time was up. She wrapped her arms around me from behind. "Liunian, you know I love you. Please believe me. They just like to tease me. We don't need anyone else in our business. As long as I know you're the one. Don't you trust me after all these years?" I didn't answer. I just coughed harder. She grabbed her phone, wanting to schedule a checkup for me. But as soon as it unlocked, another invitation popped up. She quickly kissed my cheek. "We'll go when we have time. The office wants me for a meeting. I have to go. Text me what you want for dinner." Then she left. That night, she went to the reunion. I hadn't planned on going, but some invisible force made me drive to the restaurant. Through the glass, I saw her walk in and fall right into Ming Sheng's embrace, her face flushing red instantly. Our old classmates began teasing them. "You two star-crossed lovers are finally together. You have to share some wedding candy with us." She blushed, playfully scolding the laughing crowd. "Hey, stop talking nonsense. Ming Sheng and I are just good friends. You're making it so awkward for us." She acted like nothing was going on, but even as she said that, she leaned a bit closer to Jiu Ming Sheng. After a few rounds of drinks, people started sharing stories. One classmate said, "A new patient just came to our department. He is incredibly handsome, like a major celebrity, with a teardrop mole under his eye. But he is so young, has no family, and is terminally ill. He doesn't even have anyone by his bedside." Hearing that description, Qingxue felt a strange sense of familiarity. But she was quickly distracted by Zhu Mingshang drinking. He sighed. "Yeah. Doesn't a person spend their whole life just to ensure their final moment is comfortable To have absolutely no one left at the end of your life is truly tragic. I wonder how this guy will get through it. As Ji Mingsheng spoke, his gaze drifted out the window, completely oblivious that I was standing nearby. Speaking of which, I need to text him right now. He's due for a follow-up. The nurse classmate immediately pulled up her chat screen. Qingxue sneaked a peek and caught a glimpse of what looked like my profile picture. Just as she was about to ask for details, Zhu Mingsheng collapsed into her arms. Her breath caught, and she quickly looked away, terrified that anyone would see her blushing cheeks. She caressed Zhu Mingsheng's face, but when she looked up, she locked eyes right with my deeply hurt gaze. Qingxue instantly panicked. Watching my retreating figure, she reluctantly pushed Jiang Mingsheng aside and chased after me, calling out Liunian. Just let me explain. She grabbed my sleeve, gasping for breath. Zhu Mingsheng drank too much. Don't misunderstand. For some reason, my clenched fists lost all their strength in that moment. What right do I, a dying man, have to stand in the way of someone else's happiness? After all, Qingxue was always meant to be with Ji Ming. I sighed and turned around, seeing that she had rushed out in such a hurry without even wearing a coat. I took off my own jacket and draped it over her shoulders. It's fine, I understand. Go back and have fun. Just come home early. Right after saying this, I couldn't stop coughing until I coughed up blood. Qingxue asked anxiously, "What's wrong? Why are you throwing up blood?" "It's nothing, just some minor bleeding in my mouth, don't worry." I wiped the blood from my lips. "Once this busy phase at work is over, I'll take you to the hospital. You never take care of yourself when I'm away." Her words left me completely torn. "You go back first, I'll head home as soon as I'm done here." Qingxue hurriedly brushed me off and ran back to her car. I wrapped my arms around myself, shivering uncontrollably. She didn't explain why she lied about being busy with work, nor why she didn't bring me to her class reunion. She was only frantic to distance herself from Zhu Mingsheng. I lit a cigarette, took a drag, coughed twice, and closed my eyes. This marriage felt absolutely exhausting. When I woke up again, I was already lying in a hospital bed. I figured there was no hiding it now. Qingxue must have brought me here and found out about my condition. She knows everything. I bit my lip, my fingers trembling involuntarily as cold sweat broke out on my palms. I tried to calm my anxiety, but my heart was pounding like a terrified deer. I had absolutely no idea how I was going to face Qingxue. Just then, a nurse walked through the door and efficiently changed my for, "You know your lungs are failing, yet you still haven't quit smoking. You're really something. You should thank the older gentleman who walked by. If not for him, you'd be dead by now." I froze for a second. An older man. It wasn't Qingxue. The nurse noticed my confused expression. "Who else did you think it was?" My throat was so dry I could barely make a sound. I tried to swallow, but only tasted bitterness. "Right, I actually thought it was Qingxue." Having suffered so much pain, I lay on my hospital bed and began to pray for death. Or perhaps I was too sincere. 30 minutes later, as if my wish were granted, I was wheeled into the emergency room. After an examination, the doctor urgently asked, "This is extremely critical. We need to issue a critical condition notice. Call his family right now." My parents passed away long ago. The nurse had to call Qingxue, but the call went completely unanswered. Of course, in the middle of partying, how could she possibly think of me? At that very moment, surrounded by her friends, Qingxue was doing a kissing penalty game with Ji Mingsheng. Beside me, the heart monitor beeped rapidly, looking at me lying helpless on the hospital bed waiting for emergency treatment. The doctor gritted his teeth. "We can't wait anymore. The patient needs immediate resuscitation." Save him first. While unconscious, I saw myself from 3 years ago. In this marriage, I had always been the humble one. I even studied English, just to have something in common with Qingxue. To make her happy, I used my clumsy hands to knit a patterned scarf especially for her. That scarf is still tucked away in the deepest corner of the closet. Meanwhile, Qingxue refuses to put away the brooch on her chest, even though it's faded. She wears it every day, simply because it's Jiu Mingsheng's only gift. It turned out that from beginning to end, I was the only one fighting to keep this relationship alive. All these years, I had just been lying to myself. In my coma, I faintly heard the doctors talking about my wife. You know, he's really pitiful. So young, yet he got lung cancer. And it's already this severe, yet not a single person has come to visit him. Exactly. A wife who can't even be reached when her husband is dying is basically non-existent. Truly pitiful. For the next few days, I stayed in the ICU alone. Every day, I woke up to sharp needles and the lonely smell of disinfectant, It wasn't until a week later that Qingxue finally rushed to the hospital. As soon as she walked in, she came to my bedside, her eyes full of concern. "Liunian, why didn't you tell me?" I looked up, wanting to explain, but suddenly remembered those missed calls that day. My heart sank. It wasn't that I hadn't tried to tell her. I had told her many times, but she had simply ignored it. I coughed a few times and waved my hand dismissively. "Don't be sad for me. Everyone dies eventually. Life and death are up to fate." Looking up, I caught sight of a faint mark on her neck. My hand holding the water cup tightened. I pretended to be carefree, a faint smile on my lips, but inside, I was already in complete chaos. I knew what they had done. My illness is incurable anyway, and I didn't want to waste your time. Looking at me on the sick bed, Qingxue couldn't help but cry. Even if over these past few years she really hadn't fallen for me, how could her heart remain as cold as stone after spending every day and night together? "Liunian, don't think like that. The priority now is to cooperate with the doctor and get well." A trace of sorrow appeared in my eyes. I chuckled softly. "Qingxue, if you love me, then fine. I cannot run away anyway." "Cannot run away." Qingxue wanted to say more, but the words were stuck in her throat, and she couldn't make a sound. For a while after that, she put aside all her work and stayed by my side. Only then did she realize just how serious my illness actually was. She began to recall from her memory my constant day and night coughing, my increasingly emaciated frame, and the box of painkillers on the nightstand. Tears welled up in her eyes, crystal clear and fragile. Composing herself, she retrieved the painkillers from the nurse's station, popped out 2 pills, and placed them in my hand. "The doctor said these painkillers cannot be taken too much. Take these 2 first. If it hurts tonight, wake me up and I'll give you more. I've already paid the hospital fees. The doctor said you'll have an exam the day after tomorrow to see if the tumor has shrunk." I stared blankly at the pills. "Qingxue, let's get a divorce." Her smile froze on her face. She didn't reply, but simply went on. "The hospital blankets aren't thick enough. I'll bring the ones from home tomorrow. You can't stay here alone like this." A tear fell without warning, landing right on the back of my hand. Qingxue couldn't hold it together anymore, covered her face, and broke down crying. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Watching Qingxue weep, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. Just then, her phone rang. It was Jiu Mingsheng. Qingxue immediately stood up to answer it. My arm, which I hadn't even had time to pull back, was left hanging in. Then, she gestured to me and walked out of the room. I walked over to the window and saw Qingxue running straight into Jiu Mingsheng's embrace. He held her tight, gently patting her back. The tear stains on her face were now completely replaced by a bright smile. I wiped a tear from my eye and comforted myself. It's okay, at least she is happy right now. I withdrew my gaze and returned to my small, pale green hospital bed. I was waiting for Qingxue to return, and I was also waiting for death to arrive. Just a second before I fell asleep, Qingxue pushed open the door. Not asleep yet, I nodded. In the next moment, I asked. Zhu Mingsheng came, didn't he? No, that Qingxue stammered, unable to lie smoothly. I gave a bitter laugh, not wanting to put her on the spot, and immediately changed the subject. It's fine. I just suddenly recalled. Didn't you say Zhu Mingsheng's grandmother passed away? I wanted to ask how he's doing emotionally now. Whenever Zhu Mingsheng was brought up, Qingxue always got incredibly flustered. I watched her fingers constantly swipe her phone screen, frowning and looking entirely restless. In my heart, I knew she would leave soon. Sure enough, after just a few brief word sentences, Qingxue found an excuse. Liunian, the neighbor auntie said Dundon is sick. I have to rush back and check on him. I just asked the doctor, and your first stage of chemotherapy will be over in 5 days. I'll come back to pick you up then. Dundon is the cat we raised together, plump and healthy. You could say he was in much better shape than me. How could he suddenly get sick? And even if a cat were sick, it wouldn't take 5 days. Obviously, Qingxue was lying. But my heart was already completely dead. I didn't want to care anymore. On the 3rd day of my treatment, the primary doctor wanted to see my past medical files, so I drove back home. A second before opening the door, there was still a sliver of hope in my heart. I hoped that the moment the door opened, I would see Qingxue, but life is never that kind. Dundon was starving, howling constantly, and the litter box hadn't been cleaned in days. It seemed that from that day at the hospital, Qingxue had never returned home. I reached out, scooped Dundon into my arms, and gently stroked him. Dundon kept rubbing his forehead against me, his only owner in life. On the afternoon, I retrieved my test results and handed them to my doctor. I received devastating news. The cancer cells were spreading much faster than I had anticipated. I had 2 months left at most. Although I had prepared myself mentally, when I knew my countdown had actually begun, I couldn't help but feel a wave of sorrow. I pulled out my phone, staring blankly at Qingxue's name. Suddenly, I felt my life had been so cold and so pathetic. At the very end of my life, there wasn't a single person I could open up to. I lit another cigarette, opened my Moments feed, and scrolled to the photo Zhu Mingsheng had just posted at the beach. Irritated, I stubbed out the cigarette and called Qingxue. She had just answered when Zhu Mingsheng's laughter echoed over the line. Yet, Qingxue was completely oblivious, asking, "What is it, Liunian? I'm on a business trip. What's wrong?" The doctor said I only have 2 months left. I repeated the doctor's words, exactly. But my voice was completely drowned out by the sound of fireworks exploding on her end. It felt as if they were celebrating my impending release, or perhaps mocking my stupidity. Qingxue raised her voice and shouted into the phone. "Liunian, what did you say? It's too noisy here. Let's talk when I get back." Before I could say another word, she hung up. No matter how many times, no matter what the issue was. Zhu Mingsheng was always the absolute priority in Qingxue's eyes, and I was always just the extra option. Fortunately, I was dying. I could personally put a perfect end to my own humility. I didn't question her, nor did I say anything more. I simply pulled out the calendar and drew a circle on it. 2 months is neither too long nor too short, and it would be here soon. 2 days later, the day Qingxue and I agreed on for my discharge arrived. As expected, she didn't show up. I didn't wait foolishly like before, and packed my bags to leave alone. However, this discharge wasn't because the first phase of chemotherapy was over, but simply because they were letting me go home to spend my remaining days. After returning home, I planned to move out of our marital home. Since I had absolutely no strength, I called a moving company. I had found a small yard suitable for living. When Qingxue came home and saw the chaotic scene, she hurriedly asked what was wrong. I didn't want to argue with her anymore, so I simply lied. The doctor said I'm recovering well and moving to a quiet place will help my condition. You're busy anyway, so I came back first to pack my things. She had completely forgotten her promise from a few days ago to pick me up. But I knew better than to bring it up. Qingxue nodded, agreeing that, given my health, I should indeed find a quiet place. But as she walked into the bedroom, she suddenly realized that all of my personal belongings, nothing has changed. Why are only your things packed? What about mine? You have more stuff. I will pack yours later, I replied firmly. Qingxue did not doubt me. She put the fruit in the kitchen and changed into loungewear. I watched her walk away, my gaze heavy. This was likely the moment to say goodbye. Once everything was packed, Qingxue helped me downstairs. Right outside, we ran straight into Ming Shang and an unfamiliar woman. Neither of them expected this encounter, and a flash of sheer panic shot through both of their eyes. Ming Shang instantly let go of the woman's hand. Meanwhile, Qingxue gripped my arm tighter and tighter. A dull ache throbbed in my chest as I looked down at her. I saw the burning anger and resentment in her eyes. She was clearly jealous. Ming Shang wanted to explain, but with me standing there, he hesitated. He finally spoke up awkwardly, saying, "Qingxue, you are here too. I was just shopping with a co-worker." He glanced at me and quickly changed the subject. "Who is this?" Qingxue hesitated for a second, seemingly trying to figure out how to define our relationship. Before she could, I introduced myself generously. "Hello, I am Jiang Liunian, Qingxue's childhood friend. I have been feeling under the weather lately, so she came over to take care of me. I really owe her a huge favor." Qingxue looked at me, her eyes filled with shame. As expected, she did not correct me and simply followed my lead. Ming Shang found it a bit strange, but did not think much of it. The four of us ended up walking into a nearby restaurant together. Ming Shang walked up beside me to chat. "Bro, what is wrong with your health? Is it serious?" I took the cigarette from him and lit it. "It is nothing, just an old issue. Are you married?" Ming Shang asked. I froze for a second, then smiled faintly. "Yes." "Then where is your wife?" I blew out a ring of smoke, paused, and said, "She fell in love with someone else." Qingxue mentioned a sick friend. "That must be you," Ming Shang said. Feeling sorry for my miserable state, he could not help but sympathize, cursing the heartless woman. How could she do that? Abandoning you while you are sick. Does she not fear divine punishment? That is absolutely shameful. People are incredibly vulnerable when they are sick. It is truly disgraceful. Yes, humans are fragile, and so was my love. I took a deep drag of my cigarette and changed the subject. "Qingxue told me your grandmother passed away recently. How are you holding up?" Ming Shang sighed. "My grandmother raised me. Even though death is a natural part of life, the grief is still overwhelming. If Qingxue had not been there for me, I probably would not have made it through. I am truly grateful to her." Seeing his face flush as he reminisced, I suddenly asked, "Do you love Qingxue?" Ming Shang froze, then lowered his head shyly. "I do not know if it is love. We grew up together, and I always saw her as an older sister. She has always taken such good care of me, guiding me through major decisions." Later, I found an old post she wrote on our school's forum back in the day. It turned out she liked me even then, but I never crossed that line. Honestly, I do not understand how a woman as amazing as Qingxue could fall for someone as ordinary as me. I stared at Ming Shang, feeling a sudden pang of emptiness. It turned out Qingxue could be incredibly gentle and Qingxue just had never been that way with me. Lost in his own memories, Ming Shang failed to notice the deep, weary look on my face as he kept speaking. "Brother Jiang, do you think she would say yes if I pursued her now?" I looked at his earnest face and gave him an honest answer. I really do not know if she would agree or not. To be honest, despite knowing her for so long, I barely know her. I have never heard of her liking anyone over all these years, but you might just be the exception. If you are sure of your feelings, you should just tell her. You might actually make it happen. Mingsheng nodded thoughtfully, processing my words. I was not lying to him. Over the years, I realized I never truly knew Qingxue. It was not just a lack of understanding, she simply never shared what she liked or disliked with me. What are you guys talking about? Qingxue asked, carrying a tray over. Mingsheng stepped forward to take the tray from her, laughing. Nothing. Qingxue. Just having a casual chat with Brother Li. She shot me an irritated glare, clearly terrified I might expose our secret. I ignored her entirely and looked away. A moment later, my phone vibrated. It was a text from Qingxue. Do not rush things today. I still need some time before we can make our relationship public. Just give me a little more time, okay? I deleted it immediately. I picked up my knife and cut my steak. No need to wait anymore, and no need to go public. I did not have that kind of time left anyway. I barely spoke to her for the rest of the meal. On the drive home, I kept quiet, leaning my head against the cool car window with my eyes closed. Qingxue sensed my coldness but did not know how to bring it up. Then she remembered breaking her promise to take me home earlier. She figured I was just sulking over that. Feeling guilty about how awkward the lunch had been, she tried to make amends. After some thought, she said, I am off this Sunday. Why don't we visit your hometown? My parents passed away during our 3rd year of marriage. Out of sheer guilt, I never had the courage to visit their graves. Now that she was bringing it up, I figured since I was dying anyway, it was time to say my final goodbyes. Are you sure you will not break your promise again, right? I asked. Qingxue laughed it off. Do not accuse me of that. When have I ever stood you up? I smiled and said nothing. Just recently, she had left me stranded alone at the hospital. Before that, she ditched me on the roadside for Mingsheng. There were too many times to count. Over the next few days, I packed up almost all of my belongings. I took out a tracksuit my mother bought me before she passed and put it on. This was the only keepsake I had left of my parents. Once I finished packing, I walked out to Qingxue's car. She eagerly opened the door for me. For some reason, I felt unusually lighthearted today, chatting with her the whole way. But near a rest stop close to home, her phone lit up with a text. Qingxue, where are you? My stomach hurts so bad I cannot even stand. Can you help me? It was Mingsheng. She froze, but only for a second. Leaning over to unbuckle my seatbelt, she lied, saying, Our manager is calling me back. I have an emergency and must head back. Wait for me here, okay? I will be right back. We are almost there. Can we finish this first? I asked. She was a terrible liar, and I knew the truth. I just wanted to see how far she would go for me. I stared at her, unbuckled my seatbelt, and got out of the car. Sensing her own guilt, she promised again. Liunian, wait for me here. I will come straight back once I am done. I will be quick. Then she drove off. I knew right then, there was no waiting. I would never wait for her again. There was no future left for us. Watching her car speed away, I pulled my coat tight against the chill, tucked my chin in, and began walking down the road alone. The village paths at dusk were rugged, but looking at the moonlight, I was not afraid. I was going home, where my parents were waiting. It took me 4 hours to reach their graves. My phone remained silent, not a single call from her. I lit incense, bowed 3 times to their graves, and walked back to our old, dusty house. Everything inside was just as I remembered, except for a forgotten envelope resting on the brick bed. The front read, To our dear son, Liunian. It was a letter from my parents. With trembling hands, I opened it, but before I could even pull out the paper, tears began to blur my vision. Nobody had ever told me they left this behind. I clutched the envelope, terrified to open it. I feared their blame, yet I feared their warmth even more. I desperately wished someone was here with me now, to help shoulder this crushing guilt. With a heavy sigh, I pulled out the letter and read it line by line. The overwhelming love and longing in their words choked me. Leaning against the dirt wall, I coughed violently, spraying a mouthful of blood across the envelope. Stumbling to my feet, I tried to wipe it away, but I only smeared it further. I broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. I cried for myself, and I cried for my parents. Why had I been so stubborn? Why had I not come back to see them sooner? Clutching the blood-stained letter to my chest, I finally cried myself to sleep. By the time I woke up, it was morning. There was still no word from Qingxue. Instead, Mingsheng had posted an update online. It was proof that her company had no emergency at all. She had simply rushed off to take care of him. I wiped the dried blood from my mouth. I smiled bitterly. If she knew these were my final days, would she still choose Mingsheng? I was done caring about her. Checking the calendar, I had exactly 1 month left. For this final month, I wanted to live for myself. Starting today, she was out of my life. I was erasing her completely. I was reclaiming whatever time I had left. I am Jiang Liunian. I belong only to myself, not to her. The thought brought me a strange sense of peace. I returned to our city apartment and packed up every single thing I owned. I left nothing behind except our wedding rings, placing the signed divorce papers on her nightstand. I tore our wedding portrait off the wall and threw it in the trash. I was going to vanish from her life entirely. With that done, I walked out and never looked back. By the time Qingxue finally thought of me, my phone was already turned off. She drove all the way back to the rest stop, desperately searching for me. She was convinced I would still be there. After all these years, no matter what she did, I had always waited. But none of her messages received a reply. Frustration washed over her. She realized she had no idea where my hometown actually was, leaving her with no choice but to wait there. By the next day, her frustration turned to anger. She could not comprehend why I would vanish without a word. Furious, she planned to make me pay the moment she found me. But when she finally unlocked the apartment door, her heart sank. The place was stripped bare. Only her clothes remained untouched in the closet. On the nightstand sat a stack of faded envelopes. Over the years, I had done so much to get her attention, even things she hated. Qingxue frowned, assuming this was just another one of my tricks. She opened the first envelope to see what was inside. Qingxue, do you remember? This was the first letter we wrote to each other. You said you loved physical letters because they were romantic, so I wrote them for you, one by one. You tore the first one up right in front of me, which broke my heart. I rewrote it and handed it to you again, and only then did you reluctantly accept it. Qingxue, do you remember the day I proposed? It was snowing heavily. I held you tight as we walked through the falling snow. You told me that was the happiest moment of your life. Qingxue, do you remember our wedding day? You cried as you held me close, promising you would love only me forever. Each letter held a piece of our shared history. Qingxue felt herself pulled back into the warmth of our early, innocent love. Sitting on the bed, she read through them one by one, a soft smile tugging at her lips. Until she found the divorce papers. Qingxue, this is our 5th year together, and my 6th year of loving you. It must be hard to believe you stayed so long with someone you do not love. It must have been exhausting. Her face paled as she read, and a cold dread suddenly gripped her heart. Feeling a sudden dread, she paused. Swallowing hard, as if she already knew, she kept reading. I give up. In our long relationship, I lost completely. I tried, but love can't be forced when it is entirely one-sided. You just don't love me. I accept that now. So, on our 5th anniversary, here is my gift. Let's get a divorce. I am setting you free to chase your true love. I already signed. Good. Standing there, Qingxue stared at the papers, completely lost. She couldn't believe I actually went through with it. Her eyes widened, her lips trembling in shock as she frantically flipped to the final page. There it was, me name, written in my signature bold handwriting. It was really me. Desperate, she began searching, tracking the address on the papers. She barged into the law firm and slammed the document onto the desk. Who drafted this? Sitting nearby, lawyer Jiang blew on his hot tea and took a calm sip. I did. Is there an issue? Qingxue's. The anger burning inside her finally found a target, and she unleashed it on the innocent lawyer. He is sick. Why would you draft this without my permission? Who allowed you to do this? It was her first time throwing a tantrum like this. Annoyed by her outburst, the lawyer replied coldly, Ma'am, everything was handled legally. If you have issues, talk to your husband. Our firm drafts documents. We do not resolve marital disputes. Qingxue was left speechless, but quickly came up with a new plan. Lawyer Jiang, she pleaded, since my husband contacted you, you must have his new number. Can you give it to me so I can discuss the next steps? But as a seasoned professional, the lawyer refused to cross ethical lines and leak client details. He firmly declined. Ms. G, please calm down. Our industry strictly forbids leaking client privacy. You and your husband lived together for 5 years. Your families must know each other. Why not ask his relatives? They should have his contact info. Unfortunately, lawyer Jiang overestimated her. Despite 5 years of marriage, Qingxue had no idea how to contact my family or friends. She racked her brain and reached out to every mutual contact they shared, desperately searching for any lead. Yet, not a single person had heard from me. Having no other choice, and with lawyer Jiang remaining tight-lipped, despite her desperate pleas, she finally wrote a letter for the lawyer to forward. Afterward, she opened WeChat and stared blankly at my profile. The red exclamation mark on her screen stung. She couldn't comprehend how I could go to such extremes, just to leave her. After all these years, she realized she barely knew me. Meanwhile, I had moved to a quiet, serene cottage by the sea. It was peaceful here. A few days later, a letter arrived, forwarded by lawyer Jiang. I hesitated, but the thought of her actually writing a letter intrigued me. I tore it open, only to freeze in shock. She had written 10 whole pages. Was that really necessary? It was probably just a list of accusations. Not wanting to ruin my mood, I tucked them under a book on my desk. Instead, I took my newly adopted puppy for a walk. Lately, my coughing had grown worse. I was taking pills by the handful, but having a dog kept the loneliness at bay. Meanwhile, Qingxue was counting the days. It has been 3 days. He must have received it by now. She opened WeChat to send a tentative text, only to find that my account had been deleted. She froze. The realization hit her she was truly losing me. She opened her contacts to write an SMS, but deleted it in frustration. Running her fingers through her hair, she collapsed onto the couch. Opening a bottle of wine, she popped an ice cube into her mouth, chewing on it as she tried to think. Feeling utterly lost, she closed her eyes to rest. But memories began playing like a movie, making her bolt upright in panic. A dark dread gripped her. Did I know about her and Jiang? Frantically, she traced back her steps, remembering the dinner she had with him. She recalled Jiang and me talking for a long time that night. Could he have told me? No, she shook her head. Even if she had loved Jiang in the past, she had spent our marriage trying to let him go. Once he married, she stopped thinking about him. As for me, she had always seen herself in my eyes. Perhaps it was guilt, or maybe sympathy. Neither of us was ready to commit back then, so we agreed to wait. It was only when her family pressured her to marry that she finally turned her eyes back to me. She figured marrying me was better than settling for a stranger from a blind date. At least we got along. But she didn't realize that longing for someone you can't have is far more toxic than simply settling. Throughout our marriage, she struggled. She nearly tore herself apart. The endless cycle of guilt and longing was exhausting. Pushed into a dark corner by her own conflicting emotions, she began to regret marrying me. Though she could never bring herself to say why out loud. In a moment of desperation, she proposed a secret marriage. She had no idea how to move on from Jiang or start over with me. To her, intimacy felt like a betrayal. Surprisingly, I agreed, and our 5 years together were peaceful. Our bond remained stable. She only ran into Jiang at class exchanging brief glances. Knowing she couldn't erase him from her heart, she kept her secret feelings hidden in a private diary. But moving on is never that simple. Her emotions still revolved around him. She found herself overanalyzing every single social media post he made. When she heard he divorced and his grandmother passed away, she couldn't stand by. He was, after all, her first real love. Seeing him in pain, she felt a duty to help him heal. She kept this secret, believing her acting was flawless, but she was transparent. I saw right through her, yet I couldn't bring myself to ruin the illusion she was desperate to keep. She was furious. Why hadn't I talked to her? Why was I so eager to cut all ties? She couldn't even find a defense for herself. Mostly, she hated her own blindness. Had she constantly ignored my presence all these years? It was only now, when it was too late, that she realized I was irreplaceable. Even when Jiang divorced, she never once thought about marrying him. Caught in this agonizing loop, she could only drown her sorrows in alcohol. Gulping down glass after glass, she finally understood her heart. From the day we got married, she wanted to spend her life with me. After drinking herself to sleep for 3 days, she woke up desperate to call me, but I was gone. She used every connection she had, yet found absolutely nothing. Her dread grew. Jiang tried visiting several times, but she ignored him. It wasn't until she literally passed out from drinking that he forced his way inside. Waking up in a hospital bed, her eyes scanned the room for me. But she only saw Jiang carrying a bowl of porridge. What is going on? You have severe alcohol poisoning. Seeing him there only deepened her despair. Her mind was a mess of disappointment and clarity. She realized her attachment to him wasn't love. She saw him as a younger brother. Since I had misunderstood everything, she needed to clear the air immediately. Jiang, she started. I've been trying to reach Jiang Liunian, but his phone is dead. What happened to him? He asked, panicked. Looking at his concern, guilt washed over her. She recalled him mentioning that his wife had fallen for someone else during his illness. Oh God, I hope he didn't do something reckless. Let's go search for him together. He's still sick, and if anything happens, she was stunned. Jiang seemed to care more about my safety than she did. Staring at his worried face, she sighed and gathered her courage. Jiang, I'm actually Jiang Liunian's wife. We got married 5 years ago. I'm sorry I kept you in the dark. The confession hit him like a bomb. He knew things were weird, but never imagined this. Sudden clarity turned into utter disbelief. His chest tightened with painful regret as he confronted her. Why did you hide this from everyone? How is any of this fair to him? She could only hang her head, clutching her bedsheets in silence. Her silence only fueled his anger. Remembering his last conversation with me, a wave of guilt and self-loathing washed over him. He had casually gossiped about my neglecting wife right to my face, completely oblivious to how much it must have hurt. I was a dying patient. If he had known that the heartless woman I spoke of was actually his close friend, he would have shut his mouth instantly. Sickened by his own cruelty, he wanted nothing more than to slap himself. You shouldn't be apologizing to me. You need to apologize to him. Don't you know he has cancer? Her world shattered. Suddenly, she remembered. She needed to find my doctor. He was the only one who would have my contact information. Rushing to the pulmonology ward, the truth she uncovered left her. My surgery had failed. I hadn't been discharged because my chemo was over. The hospital simply had no options left. I was actively dying. Are you his family? The doctor asked. Sizing her up, the doctor continued, as his wife. Why weren't you here? The day he insisted on leaving, we couldn't find a single guardian to sign. He had to face his diagnosis entirely alone. Where on earth were you? The word struck her like a physical blow. The doctor was right. Where was she? With a jolt of horror, she remembered she was laughing on a beach with Jiang. Clutching her chest, she doubled over, gasping through the suffocating pain. Heavy tears spilled over. A flood of guilt washed over her as she realized how deeply she had failed me. She had constantly ignored my feelings, leaving me to face death entirely alone. This tragedy was entirely of her own making. She was consumed by a useless, crushing regret. But some mistakes are too heavy to ever be forgiven. By the third day of my disappearance, her desperation peaked. She wanted to spend my final days by my side, yet had no way of finding me, knowing she had likely forfeited that right forever. As the week ended, her phone finally rang. It was me. Relief washed over her. If I was willing to talk, perhaps we still had a chance. Meanwhile, having heard she was looking for me, I decided to end this once and for all. It was time to sign the final papers. We met at the registration office. You're here. Did you bring the documents? Let's get this finalized, I said quietly. Our first words in a week. Hearing the word divorce sent a wave of despair through Ji. She stared deep into my eyes, searching for even a tiny fraction of regret to keep negotiating. But my face was dead calm, pale and sickly. In my sickly state, she realized I had no energy left to feel sad. I was truly dying. Liunian, can we talk? She asked. Sure. I coughed violently, fighting the pain. Let's get the divorce papers first. Then we talk. My words shattered her last shred of hope. She never wanted to divorce me. She wanted to be my wife and stand by me in my final days. But I wouldn't even let her do that. Gripping her shirt, she forced herself to speak. Liunian, I won't divorce you. I want to stay because I'm your wife. Hearing this stirred something in me. I'd imagined many outcomes, but never this. Still, in my weak state, I couldn't force her. I decided to let it go. I stopped caring and let her do as she pleased. Having finally found me, she wasn't going to let me leave. She followed closely behind. I ignored everything she said. She wasn't angry. She knew this karma was of her own making. Where have you been? She asked. I stared out the window in silence. I searched for you everywhere. You didn't reply. Do you know how worried I was? I stayed silent. She stopped talking. We sat in the car, wrapped in heavy silence. She let out a helpless laugh. Where to? You didn't send a location, so I don't know where to drive. At a red light, I turned to look at her with heavy eyes. Qingxue, if you don't love me, why won't you divorce me? I'm a dying man. Clinging to me gets you nothing. Or are you unhappy with the asset split? If so, we can renegotiate. A wave of panic hit her. She gripped the steering wheel, tears pooling in her eyes, threatening to spill over. Choking back a sob, she whispered, "I'm not unhappy, and I'm not clinging. I just have so many questions. I want to hear the truth from you, and I want to explain my side." A flicker of surprise crossed my face. Everything was already said. She had already shown her choice through her actions. What was left? Qingxue couldn't understand how someone who loved her so deeply could suddenly stop. Demanding nothing but divorce and refusing to look at her. I fell silent. I didn't understand her. What did she mean? Hadn't she loved Zhu Mingsheng for years? She should be with him, not saying these confusing things to me. Sensing my silence, she seized the moment to open up. "Liunian," she started. "I saw those letters. I know why you're doing this. You think I still love Zhu Mingsheng, right? Don't you?" I shot back. Bitter regret flooded her heart. She realized she'd been reckless with our marriage, taking my deep devotion for granted. She had never cared. She continued apologetically. "I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I should have explained, but I hid things to prevent you from Now it's led to this. I'm so sorry, Liunian." Her apology threw me off completely. I didn't know why she was saying this, but my body was in agony. I couldn't listen to her anymore. I just wanted this over. "I hear your apology. If you're truly sorry, then listen to me. Let's just get divorced, and then you can take me home. That way, I can forgive your past mistakes." My words silenced her instantly. The deep sorrow in her eyes grew. "But I don't want a divorce. I came to save us. Can you give me another chance?" I chuckled. This apology was too late. If you had hesitated for even a second when choosing Zhu Mingsheng, I could have kept lying to myself. "Qingxue, we were together for 5 years, yet when choosing between me and him, you still chose him. Our marriage was a hasty, foolish mistake. All my devotion yielded nothing. You know where your heart lies. Since we are divorcing, and he's single, and you to love each other, you should chase your true love. Not fight this divorce. I can't give you the love you want anymore. Liunian, don't. Since our wedding day, you've been the only one. Zhu Mingsheng is just like a brother to me. Our marriage wasn't one-sided. I truly wanted to spend forever with you. I couldn't believe my ears. For 5 years, she'd never confessed her love like this. But I wasn't that naive guy anymore. I wouldn't be swayed by her sweet words. I didn't know why she was doing this, but it definitely wasn't for me. I let out a dry, mocking laugh. Do you even believe yourself? My question completely froze her. She realized her actions had pushed me to total emotional death. She had destroyed everything, and she only had herself to blame. Still, she vowed that no matter what, she would prove to me her love was real. Sighing, she said firmly, Liunian, no matter what, I mean every word. Please give me a chance to stay with you. Before she could finish, I opened the door and got out. I was tired of her fake devotion and her empty promises. She rushed after me, catching my swaying body. Qingxue, if you want to prove anything, stop pushing me. Give me space. We are completely over. She finally realized I had made up my mind. Never to get back together. Biting her lip, she followed me in silence. Since you're sick, stay at my place tonight. This time, I didn't refuse. The pain inside was excruciating. I desperately needed a place to rest. At the door, as I hesitated to change my shoes, the wedding photo on the wall caught my eye. She had hung it back up. The layout hadn't changed. It looked just like our early honeymoon days. I couldn't help but ask, "Why are you doing this?" I wanted to ask, but stayed quiet. Helping me onto the sofa, she looked around and murmured, "You left me here alone. I couldn't handle it. I miss having someone who understands me." Without these photos, I felt like I had no home. If our past wasn't so agonizing, I might have felt a shred of pity. but watching her play this loving role, I felt absolutely nothing. I turned over, closed my eyes, and tried to rest. Looking at my face, she realized I felt like a stranger. Every word I'd said since our reunion pierced her heart. She realized I wasn't born gentle. I had just hidden my resentment, my grief, and my physical pain for 5 years. Yet, she had taken my devotion for granted, repeatedly breaking my heart. Now, those memories cut like a sharp blade into her chest, turning her worries into a slow, burning agony that dripped onto her soul. She felt like she was suffocating, but then it hit her. If this brief moment of suffocation felt unbearable, I had been living through this exact agony for 5 whole years. She couldn't stop the painful regret growing inside her. She could only let the pain spread wildly. She had to bear it. She deserved it. The next morning, we got our divorce papers. Holding the new booklet, I felt dazed. I remembered how eager I had been on our wedding day, and how terrified I was that she would back out. Who knew that, 5 years later, I would feel the exact same urgency. Back then, she was miserable, and I begged for her smile. Now, our roles were completely reversed. Qingxue looked completely lost. Since our marriage was a mistake, ending it was a relief. Only by wiping the slate clean could we move on. As for her, she tried to gather her courage. There was only one thing left to do. She had to pull herself together and win back my heart. Even in my final days, she wanted to leave a deep, lasting mark on my life. She didn't know if I would ever forgive her, but she was determined to try. No matter what, she had to try. She would pour all her love into me, both as penance and to fulfill her old vows. She wouldn't let go of the man she chose. After finishing the paperwork, I felt a massive wave of relief. I glanced at her, my tone lighter than it had been in years. Qingxue, thank you for everything. We are even now. Goodbye. I turned to leave, but she blocked my path. Liunian who says, we are even, I still owe you. What could you possibly owe me, Qingxue? Are you confused? Honestly, I wanted nothing to do with her. Legally, we were no longer married. We were just strangers who used to share an apartment. Qingxue nodded slowly in agreement. I know. But back when you courted me, I told you we weren't close. And you still followed me everywhere. She was talking about my past pursuit of her. 5 years ago on campus, I was a constant shadow behind her. Back then, she had tried to stop me just like I was doing to her now. Jiang Liunian, can you stop clinging to me like glue? Blushing, I had handed her an umbrella. I just didn't want you getting caught in the rain. We aren't that close yet, are we? Back then, I just scratched my head and smiled. That's okay, Qingxue. One day, we will be. Now, hearing those exact same words come out of her mouth, I felt a sudden wave of unease. It felt awkward. It was the first time she had ever mentioned my pursuit of her. Now that we were divorced, it felt pointless. It really is pointless. Then let's talk about the present, she said. What's left to discuss? I asked. No matter what, you have to go somewhere with me. Didn't you say you would do anything if I agreed to the divorce? My lips twitched. I had said that, but I swore it was only to get her to sign the papers. Normal couples cut ties completely after a divorce. Who drags their ex-husband into deep talks like this? I have things to do today. Let's talk some other time, I said, turning away. But she grabbed my sleeve tightly. You blocked me and deleted my contact info. If you walk away now, how will I find you? You vanished without a word last time. Do you know how long I searched? For the first time, she looked genuinely panicked about something unrelated to Jiu. She pleaded, you wanted a divorce, and I knew I couldn't stop you. I tried to win you back, but I let you go. Now, I just want us to talk. Is that so much to ask? We were together for 5 years. Do you really have to be so heartless? Qingxue's eyes welled with tears. My heart softened, and I pulled out my phone. Fine, add me. I'll accept, but leave me alone after this. You know my condition. I just need to rest. At the mention of my health, Qingxue's heart ached. Even after our divorce, I still refused to tell her the truth. Her mood sank, and her hands shook as she held my phone. Once she added me, she looked deep into my eyes. There is a place, and you have to come with me. I found her behavior so strange today, constantly forcing herself to do things she hated. She dragged me into the car, glancing at her sideways. I caught a rare flicker of anxiety in her eyes. Where was she taking me? I wondered. We drove past the thick shrubs, heading deeper into the middle of nowhere. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. Qingxue, where are you taking me? What is this place? She said nothing. Panic set in. Was she so devastated by our divorce that she wanted to drag me down to die with her? I quickly dismissed the thought. I was already a dying man anyway, so there was no point. Since she remained silent, I stopped asking. We drove from day to night until the car finally stopped at a village entrance. Unbuckling her seatbelt, she shook me awake. I blinked, looked around at the towering mountains, and gasped. Are you serious? Where on earth have you brought me? She wrapped her coat tight around herself and started walking. Just follow me. We passed a massive locust tree as dogs barked in the distance. I followed her, looking around, until we stopped at a closed door. Just as she raised her hand to knock, it swung open. Xiao, you're here. Is this your husband, Mr. Jiang? She nodded. Husband. I was stunned. In all our years together, she had never acknowledged me to outsiders. Yet now that we were divorced, here I was, being called her husband. What are you standing there for? Come in, the old man pulled me inside. Once we were inside with hot tea, she spoke up. Teacher Qin, this is my husband, Jiang Liunian. I mentioned his illness before. Please, could you check on him? The elderly man smiled and pointed at me. You are one lucky kid. I haven't practiced medicine in over 20 years. Your wife knelt outside my door for 3 days and 3 nights just to get me to treat you. You better treat her well. My heart skipped a beat. So she drove all this way just to get me medical help. She actually begged him for that long. Teacher Qin sat down to examine me, his expression turning solemn. I already knew my illness was terminal, so his expression didn't faze me. But Qingxue was visibly panicked. Teacher Qin, does it look bad? Is it serious? Teacher Qin slowly pulled his hand back from my wrist and shook his head. Qingxue lost her balance, crashing into the coffee table. Ignoring her own pain, she rushed forward, pressing her hands together in a desperate plea. Teacher Qin, please, just try one more time, I beg you. He helped her up. Who said it can't be cured? You are indeed sincere, child. I'll do it. Your husband's condition is highly complex, but luckily, I've treated similar cases before and have some experience. Since you're here, stay a few days for proper treatment. Hearing this, Qingxue threw her arms around me, weeping with joy. Liunian, you're saved. You can live. You won't have to leave me. You don't have to leave me all alone. My heart softened slightly, seeing how much she had done for me. But a bitter thought crept in. Why did she only care when I gave up? Why did she try to save me only when I was dying? Why did she only care now? I was touched, but it was just too late. Fortunately, Teacher Qin managed to stabilize my condition. As long as it didn't get worse, it was a victory. Qingxue stayed by my side through the entire treatment. After my first phase of treatment, I looked much healthier. Returning to my apartment one day, I found the entire place filled with balloons, fresh flowers, and a custom cake. She clearly arranged all of this. Ta-da. Happy birthday, Jiang Liunian. Qingxue suddenly jumped out from behind the door. Honestly, if she hadn't reminded me, I would have completely forgotten it was my birthday. She pulled me over to the cake and handed me a slice. Liunian, this cake represents all my hopes for you. Your first round of treatment is over, and Teacher Qin says everything is going smoothly. Let's celebrate your birthday. I took the plate from her hands and muttered a soft thanks. I cut this special piece just for you, she beamed. You're the birthday boy, you eat first. She watched me intently as I finished the slice. I felt something was off with her today, but I couldn't tell what. Taking a bite of the second piece, I found out. I spat out a hard objector ring. Seizing the moment, she dropped to one knee, offering me the flowers. Liunian, this is my first real proposal to you. I know I've made so many mistakes, and I can't fix them overnight. But these past few days made me realize what my heart truly wants. I want us to start over. This is my first step. We used to fight over stupid misunderstandings, but I swear I've changed. I'll cherish your feelings and care about your every word. Please, just give me a chance. Could we try again? Seeing my silence, she pressed on. I know you're hurting because of the past, and I know it's all my fault. But I truly regret it. I finally know who I love. You used to chase me, and I never pushed you away. Now I'm doing the same, so please don't reject me. Can we just let the past go and start fresh? I really love you. I stood there, utterly frozen, as I listened. Suddenly, a wave of sadness hit me. It turned out she knew exactly what I cared about all along. She just chose not to change back then. I had been such a fool, constantly making excuses for her. I let out a bitter laugh, but she mistook it for forgiveness. Overjoyed, she rushed forward, wrapping her arms around me and kissing me. That passionate kiss almost broke my resolve, but at the last second, I pushed her away. Qingxue, we are really over. Please, just stop doing this. Why? She demanded, tears streaming down her face. Why did we end up like this? Jiang Liunian, how can you throw away all our years together? I won't accept this. You can't do this to me. Yes, she just couldn't accept defeat. She was just bitter, not actually in love. She couldn't accept that the man who adored her suddenly stopped. She hated that all her begging couldn't keep me. Qingxue, you know this is just your ego. Love is more than just words. You know, stung by my rejection, she realized she had no right to stay in my room. So she turned and left. The next morning, I thanked Teacher Qin and headed to my childhood friend Zhang Chuan's place. The moment I opened the door, a loud party popper startled me. Liunian, congrats on being single again. And congrats on finishing your first treatment. Zhang Chuan beamed. My eyes welled up. Seeing this, he rushed over to comfort me. Hey, don't cry, Liunian. Everything is turning around for the better. If you cry, you'll wash away the good luck. I sniffled, blinking back my tears. Grabbing a bottle of beer, I raised it. Let's toast to our future. That night, I laughed and cried, releasing all my bottled-up emotions. Finally, letting them go. The next morning, while Jiang Chuan was still asleep, I grabbed some fresh fruit and headed to Lawyer Jiang's office. He had worked so hard on my divorce, even taking a scolding from Jiqin. As his client, I really owed him a visit. Liunian, you're here. He accepted the fruit, gently scolding me. You shouldn't have bought anything. Your medical bills are so high, you should save every penny. How are you feeling lately? I sat on his sofa, taking a sip of water. It is fine. Lawyer Jiang, I actually found a great doctor, and the treatment is going well. I might even make it past New Year. He nodded, but a wave of regret washed over his face when he confirmed the divorce. They say a good match is hard to find, especially in your condition. A companion is always good. But you have your reasons, so I won't pry. Honestly, a marriage only makes sense if there is real love between two people. Otherwise, it is just empty, and pretending is completely meaningless. Besides, Lawyer Jiang already knew the gist of our situation. Qingxue had even reached out to him after the divorce, hoping he could help her win me back. Seeing my reaction, he probably felt our relationship wasn't completely dead yet, and that a little effort might save it. He had been paid to help, after all, and a few words couldn't hurt. I chatted a bit longer, then got up to leave. Pushing the office door open, I gasped. Qingxue was standing right outside. Lawyer Jiang looked awkward, pointing between the two of us. I frowned. "What are you doing here?" she stammered, unable to explain. I had no desire to deal with her, so I turned around and headed downstairs. The moment I stepped outside, a heavy rain began to pour, flooding the streets. I stepped right into a deep puddle, soaking my pants. I wanted to wait inside, but I couldn't stand being near her. I opened my ride-hailing app, but with the flooded roads, no drivers were accepting requests. The weather forecast said the storm would last all night. Was I really going to be stuck here? Just then, a familiar voice called out, "Need a ride? I can take you home." I turned to see her standing there, looking incredibly awkward. I checked my phone and nearly 20 minutes had passed with 0 rides. Afraid I would reject her again, she took a step closer to me. Teacher Chin said, "You can't catch a cold in your condition. Let's talk inside the car. It's too windy here." Before I could even protest, she shoved her purse into my arms and ran off into the rain, pulling up in her car moments later. Left with no choice, I climbed into the back seat. She didn't seem bothered at all and immediately started chatting. "It hasn't rained this hard in ages, has it? We used to love staying indoors and eating hot pot on days like this. I haven't had hot pot in forever. I still remember how much you hated the tomato broth." Her voice blended with the rain drumming against the glass, pulling me into the past. Actually, I didn't hate tomato broths. She hated them so much, she couldn't even stand the smell. I used to hide just to eat cherry tomatoes. Yet whenever she saw them in our kitchen, she never stopped to think if they were my favorites, just accused me of testing her patience. In the end, I just gave up tomatoes altogether. Looking back, it's honestly ridiculous. As Qingxue drove, she kept reminiscing about our past. But the moments she found so touching and beautiful just felt like a cruel reminder of how desperately I used to chase her. My face grew darker until I couldn't take it anymore and cut her off. "Sorry, Qingxue, but you've got it wrong. I actually love tomato hop. I love anything with tomatoes. You were the one who hated them." She fell silent, and I closed my eyes, leaning back. I rested my head against the window. Qingxue was probably telling herself it was fine, that as long as she held on, we still had a chance. She had never seen me like this before. No matter how bad our fights got, I'd crawl back within 3 days. I could never bear to hurt her so coldly. She couldn't accept that I had suddenly stopped loving her. But how could she understand that a heart doesn't die overnight? When we arrived, I pushed the car door open, but she quickly grabbed my sleeve. "Liunian," she pleaded. "Jiu Mingsheng wants your contact info to talk about some things. Is that okay?" I felt a sudden pang of guilt, remembering how I had added and then deleted him before. But then I realized Qingxue and I were over anyway, so why should I care? I wanted to say no, but the thought of Qingxue using it to pester me again gave me a headache. "Fine, whatever," I muttered, quickly walking away from her. The moment I got home, a friend request from Jiu Mingsheng popped up. I hesitated for a while before finally hitting accept. Staring at the empty chat box, I wondered what he could possibly want from me. Before I could make sense of it, my phone started buzzing with a call from him. In a panic, I pressed decline. A second later, a text popped up. "Hey man, do you have time to meet tomorrow? We should talk in person." I stared at the screen, unsure how to reply. My feelings about him were complicated. In my marriage with Qingxue, he was essentially the other man, but he only ended up in that role because Qingxue kept him in the dark about the truth. Over the years, he was my biggest romantic rival, and my bitter jealousy toward him often triggered fights between Qingxue and me. Still, I knew our rivalry was entirely Qingxue's fault. Honestly, after our talk at the restaurant last time, I realized he wasn't a terrible guy. Now that I was finally done with Qingxue, there was no reason to hold a grudge against him. Our lives only crossed because of her. Now that the thread connecting us was snapped, it was time to let the anger go. In fact, I was curious to hear what he had to say. So, I replied, and asked for the time and place, planning to meet him the next day. He chose the exact restaurant where we first crossed paths. But when I saw him, I froze. He looked nothing like the bright, energetic kid I remembered. He looked miserable. His hair was a mess, dark stubble covered his chin, and all the life had drained from his face. I was shocked but managed a polite greeting. Then, an incredibly awkward silence stretched out between us. Zhu Mingsheng was the one to break the tension. He took a sip of water, nervously rubbing his hands together. Before looking up with sudden resolve, "Brother Jiang, I came here today to apologize. I am so incredibly sorry for everything." I was taken aback. I had no idea what he was apologizing for. Surprised by his raw honesty, I quickly waved it off. "Hey, what is this about? We do not have any issues between us. Why are you apologizing out of the blue?" But my words only made him hang his head lower, looking even more consumed by guilt and anxiety. He kept fidgeting with his fingers. "Brother, I swear I didn't know you were Sister Qingxue's husband back then. I said so many stupid things to you. I did not mean any of it. Please, it was all just foolish talk. Please do not take it to heart." I finally realized why he was so worked up. Letting out a soft chuckle, I stirred my coffee and slid it across the table to him. "Look, about that you did nothing wrong. Honestly, I should have told you the truth instead of hiding it from you. You have nothing to apologize for. Even before you said those things, I had already decided to divorce her. Our marriage was long dead, and splitting up was inevitable, so please stop carrying all this blame." He knew I was trying to comfort him, but learning that we actually divorced only made him feel like a villain. He had clearly been torturing himself over this for a long time. He kept wondering if keeping his mouth shut would have saved our marriage. Tears welled up in his eyes. "Brother, no matter how you look at it, she and I crossed a line. We both wronged you. I swear I will do better from now on and respect boundaries. She made it clear that she only ever saw me as a kid. I really do not want to see you to split up over this. Can you please give her another chance? Can you guys start over?" I looked at him, completely baffled. What game were they playing now? Why were they both begging me to get back with her? Shouldn't they just run to the courthouse and start their own happy life together? Or did they only enjoy the cheap thrill of an affair? What was going on? "Brother, I know you still blame her. But honestly, when I found out you were her husband, I took a hard look at my feelings. It was just respect and dependency, not real love at all. Over the years, her care became a habit, and that is why I tuned him out completely, cutting him off to ask the one question I actually cared about. Why aren't you two getting married? Qingxue and I are divorced now." Hearing this, he sighed deeply. "That is what I am trying to explain. I used to think she had feelings for me, but since I got back, everything feels different. Her eyes used to be full of affection, but now, I can tell she only sees me as a younger brother. Sure, I had a brief crush on her, but I never knew where I stood, After your divorce, the full truth came out. I cannot live with myself knowing I wrecked someone else's marriage. I also cannot accept that she abandoned her husband when his life was on the line. It is over between us. When you vanished, she went absolutely crazy looking for you, losing so much weight. I have never seen her torture herself like that. She begged everyone she knew just to get your phone number. That was when I realized you are her entire world. When she went to the hospital and heard the truth, she literally collapsed from the pain before rushing off to find you a doctor. I know she loves you deeply, but my presence ruined everything and drove you two apart. How could I ever forgive myself? As I listened to him, I felt a strange warmth, like the cracks in my heart were slowly being stitched back together. It felt like my heart was healing, not out of lingering love, but because I finally realized I was never unloved or pathetic. I could finally forgive my younger self. I never expected to hear this side of the story from him, but only the wearer knows if the shoe actually fits. If she really loved me, wouldn't I have felt it? This whole narrative felt like a self-deceiving lie they built just to ease their own guilt. I refused to believe it. After a long pause, I spoke up. Zhu Mingsheng, here is the truth. Regardless of how she feels about you, her sheer neglect of me as her husband was too much to bear. Our divorce wasn't just because of you. Your presence was merely one of the many snowflakes that piled up until the branch snapped. It was a slow death by 1,000 cuts. All those moments accumulated, showing me her true colors and making me realize my own worth. That is why I left. It started when she hid our marriage, when she ignored me, and honestly, the list goes on forever. I calmly laid out every single wound she had caused. Zhu Mingsheng stared at me, defeated by my absolute certainty, and sighed. Silence fell over us once more. Maybe he was searching for words, or maybe he was reflecting on his own future. I pulled out a cigarette and clicked my lighter. But he reached across and snatched it from my fingers. Brother, you can't smoke. Did you forget about your lungs? I looked up and noticed his eyes were completely bloodshot. I let out a soft chuckle, crushing the unlit cigarette into the ashtray. Then, I pulled a piece of gum from my pocket and popped it in. Stop carrying all this guilt. Only the people in a relationship know how it feels. Our marriage did not fail just because of you. You are completely innocent, so stop torturing yourself. We were simply never meant to be. Take this opportunity to start fresh and live your own life. I am sure you understand. I offered him a piece of gum. Here. Since I cannot smoke anyway, you might as well join me. He took it and tossed it into his mouth. The heavy dark cloud in his chest seemed to lift slightly with the fresh minty flavor. I glanced at the clock and realized it was time to head home. I offered a quick goodbye and walked out. Behind me, Zhu Mingsheng sighed and pulled out his phone. Our entire conversation had been broadcast live to Qingxue, who had been listening the entire time. Tears streamed down her face, her knuckles turning white as she gripped the phone. She bit her lip, desperately trying to stifle her sobs. Zhu Mingsheng quietly whispered her name. I am fine, she choked out, trying to sound calm, but her trembling voice gave her away completely. He opened his mouth to offer some comfort, but the words failed him. With a heavy sigh, he spoke softly. Sister, I actually understand Liunian. Honestly, the outcome of your marriage was decided long ago. Since he is ready to move on. Maybe you should also never, she interrupted. Her lips trembled, but those words were absolute. She knew she was the sole cause of my pain. As the one who started this, how could she ever just let go? He knew her obsession ran too deep for words to fix. I hope you get what you want, sister, he murmured. He could not bring himself to push further. Ultimately, this was between the two of us, and he had no right to interfere anymore. Once the drama with them was finally over, I quietly returned to Dr. Chin to start my second phase of treatment. She kept begging to come take care of me, but I refused every single time. which made Dr. Chin curse at me for being stubborn. But she showed up anyway, dragging almost every piece of luggage she owned. "What are you doing here?" I snapped, not bothering to hide my annoyance. "Why are you still stalking me? We are divorced. Can't we just leave each other alone? Why now, of all times?" "Are you trying to take advantage of me?" Seeing my genuine anger, a wave of disappointment flashed in Qingxue's eyes. "I only wanted to take care of you," she said. "I was terrified you'd be alone, terrified you would vanish again." Happy. "You ungrateful brat. Don't forget Jiao begged for this chance to treat you," Professor Chin snapped. "Keep treating her like this, and I won't even start your third stage of therapy." I had no choice but to silently let her stay with me until the sessions finally ended. "I have to ask you something," Qingxue said, finally bringing up the question that had haunted her for so long. "Did you decide on our divorce because of those diaries?" I didn't hide the truth. "Yes and no," I replied. "I had wanted to leave for a long time. The diaries were just the final straw. Our breakup was inevitable, a matter of when, not if. But why didn't you just ask me for the truth?" She pleaded, still foolishly hoping my willingness to speak meant I still cared. That was until I uttered the next words. "I don't care about you or him anymore, and I have no desire to. I know you want us to go back to the past, but Qingxue, not everything gets a second chance. Do you understand?" Meeting my cold, unwavering stare, she swallowed her excuses. Her tears fell like a broken string of pearls, but I didn't even bother to glance her way. She finally understood that we were completely over, and she had lost her last chance to start anew. Disregarding her feelings entirely, I climbed into bed, put on my headphones, and fell asleep. For the next 3 days, Qingxue was nowhere to be seen. Near the end of my therapy, Professor Chin called me over. "Liunian Qingxue left this letter for you." She insisted I hand it over. "Read it." I took the envelope but didn't open it right away. Instead, I tore it to shreds and let the valley wind sweep the pieces away. I transferred my meager remaining savings to Professor Chin to cover my medical bills. I had wasted too much of my life entangled in her drama. Now, given a second chance, I wanted to live for myself. 2 months later, I stood on the shore, feeling the salty sea breeze brush against my face. Thanks to Professor Chin, my illness had miraculously stabilized. Even though the doctors said I wasn't fully cured, I had at least escaped death's grip for now. Zhang Chuan stepped up beside me. He handed me a cold beer. "Never thought you'd pull through, man." I took it but didn't open it. Yeah, me neither. For 2 months, I had been living in this quiet coastal town, renting a place with an ocean view. I spent my days writing and my evenings walking my new puppy. It was a simple, peaceful life. I never contacted Qingxue, and she never reached out to me. We were like two intersecting lines that briefly met, only to drift back to our own paths. "You're really not going to tell her you recovered?" Zhang Chuan asked. I shook my head. "No point. She's probably with Jiu Mingsheng by now anyway." Zhang Chuan started to say something, but just patted my shoulder instead. Then, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Liunian, I heard your health is improving. I'm so glad. I'm leaving the country this afternoon. I'm sorry, and I wish you happiness. G." I stared at the screen, letting the silence stretch. Waves rolled onto the shore, steady as the march of time. I deleted the text and blocked her number. Some apologies come too late, and some things are better left unforgiven. 3 years later, I opened a small bookstore by the beach, turning the upstairs into a cozy business was quiet, but enough to live on. Jiu Mingsheng would drop by sometimes with his new wife. She was always smiling, her eyes lighting up whenever she looked at him. Are you really not going to look for someone new? Qingxue asked. Across the room, his wife was reading by the window, bathed in the soft, warm sunlight. I shook my head. I'm happy as I am. Truly. I no longer needed someone else's love to validate my worth. I stopped losing sleep over anyone's coldness. I learned to cook my favorite meals, read books I enjoyed, and travel wherever I pleased. The pathetic man who humbled himself to the dust for love was finally dead. In his place stood a new me, whole and complete. During another golden sunset, I was walking my dog along the shore. In the distance, a couple was taking wedding photos. The bride laughing radiantly in her white gown. I paused to watch them for a moment, then kept moving. Just then, my phone rang. It was my editor. Congratulations, your new book just cleared 100,000 copies. I smiled. Thank you. The novel was about a man finding redemption in his final days. Many readers wrote that it made them cry, but others found a sense of hope hidden within the pages. Hanging up, I walked on. The sunset painted the water in shimmering, surreal gold. I thought back to the afternoon I first met Qingxue, years ago. She had stepped out of the sunlight in a flowing white dress. Back then, I truly believed she was my salvation. But I eventually learned that some people only enter your life to teach you how to love yourself. True light always comes from within. My dog trotted happily ahead, turning back to urge me on. I quickened my pace, letting the gentle sea breeze carry me forward.